What Joe Schmidt has done is he's gone with a group of guys 2 years ago and he's stuck with it.
It's not like Argentina burgled a win against the All Blacks. They totally outmuscled us and took the contest to us physically in that second test. And the Wallabies in that first test against the Boks, again, they didn't burgle their way to it.
We want to see our back scoring tries. And you just mentioned the NRL. How fabulous are the tries that we're seeing in the NRL? The athleticism of the NRL wingers is just mind-boggling.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
DSPN, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Martin Devlin's still on holiday, but don't worry, the producer's here. Lachlan Waugh sitting in for another couple of days. And we're joined by one of the great voices in world rugby. He's all over our screens. He's a very popular figure in the media. And he's also held a fair few coaching jobs. Scotland, Leinster, Ulster, Waratahs. I'm probably missing quite a few there. Matt Williams with us here on the DSPN. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for asking me, Lachie. Pleasure to be here as always.
This Rugby Championship, I want to start with this. Obviously, you're an Australian, even though you spent a lot of your time up in Ireland and have made a big name for yourself in the media scene up there. But this Rugby Championship, as it stands right now, the Aussies are leading it, which is great for you guys. Just your thoughts on the Rugby Championship so far. It's just been really exciting to watch. I think if you are an Aussie or an Argentinian fan, you're feeling pretty good. If you're South African, yeah, for the most part. I think if you're a Kiwi, though, particularly what went on in Wellington a couple of weeks ago, you're probably not feeling too great. But just your thoughts on the tournament so far.
Well, mate, it's one of these funny ones where everyone says, we want a really even championship. You know, we don't want to see Australia and Argentina down the bottom. And when Australia and Argentina play well, the New Zealanders and the Saffers, what's going on? It's bad, you know. I think it's been fantastic rugby for a start. And all four teams deserve huge praise for the way they've played. You know, the first weekend where Australia won in Ellis Park for the first time since 1963.
Oh,
I mean,
what a game.
That was from 17-0 down. I was middle of the, like obviously I'm in Australia, 17-0 down. It's about 12:30 at night, and I went to bed. I said, I can't watch this. Mm-hmm. And I woke up in the morning, I was listening to the radio, and they said the Wallabies have had this record win. I thought, I must still be sleeping. You know, they can't have won. They were 17-0 down. And it was just an extraordinary game.
Yeah.
You know, both the New Zealand Puma games coming in from Argentina, you know, wonderful games. And I know that the New Zealanders and the South Africans, you know, were hurting. No one likes to lose. But I just think the Rugby Championship has always been looked down on as a poor cousin to the Six Nations. And until we can get some parity and people come to games not knowing who's going to win, that'll be the case. If we've just got only two teams that can win the championship, it's boring. I know it's great for New Zealanders and South Africans, but we've got to do, for the game, we've got to do better than that. And I think this championship's really delivered that. It's been fabulous rugby. And I think the greatest, how do I say it, the greatest change and the real evolution and growth in the game, which is hugely positive, is the way the South Africans are playing. Like the 7-1 bench has quietly died. Thank God. No one went to a wake and no one's saying, isn't that sad? And they played some absolutely extraordinary rugby and unleashed the talent of the athleticism that we all know is in these South African players. And unfortunately, New Zealand saw that the other week. Now, in the short term, obviously, I understand where everyone in New Zealand is hurting when New Zealand friends are just mortified. I get it. But in the long run, I think that's going to be great for the game. And the New Zealanders will respond, you know. And as an Australian, unfortunately, going to Eden Park, you know,
this weekend,
1986, you know, my generation to play Steve Timon and Brett Papworth, David Campuzzi, those guys, you know, I was clubmates of Steve and Brett when they won it. And, you know, it's been since then. And I'm saying, well, there's going to be a bit of a backlash here. And so it should be. That's the way the game's going. But I think all of this is really, really positive.
Yeah, it's great because it just adds story. I think one thing that the NRL, for example, does really well, and American sports do it seriously well, and I think rugby, at least in New Zealand, just isolating New Zealand for a second, lacks. It's the storylines outside of the matches. It's being able to keep talking about the sport in the media when there aren't games going on. And like, for example, NRL 360 is a great sort of league talk show that we just don't really have that here in New Zealand. But I feel like it's sort of changed with this Rugby Championship. We are talking about it a lot. Where obviously in New Zealand, as you would know, Matt, we mourn when the All Blacks lose, and my goodness, we mourn when we lose like that, when it feels like we almost give up in that final 20 minutes. Now, whether the players did, that's up for debate. But it feels like it's something that we can talk about, and it's something exciting. Like, it's not like Argentina burgled a win against the All Blacks. They totally outmuscled us and took the contest to us physically in that second test. And the Wallabies in that first test against the Boks, again, they didn't burgle their way to it. They came back and just blitzed the Boks in the field, and the Springboks didn't have an answer.
You're 100% in your observations. I mean, Pablo Matera taking the ball off the back of that scrum, going to the right, that set up the winning try. I mean, that was a magnificent run, and how great to see a number 8 pick the ball and go. Now, let me explain to everyone who's listening. What ramifications does all this have on the game? For the past 10 years, our flankers have just been told, scrummage, don't worry about anything. You've got to commit to the scrum. So they're not watching the ball through the scrum. Now, Zinzan Brook and those great number 8s, when you were coaching against them or playing against them, you had to watch the ball as a flanker in through the scrum, and when it hit the number 8's feet, you had to be ready to get off and make the tackle. If a number 8 got past your loose or tight head props, in other words, got the game line, you'd be chewing the arse off your flankers for not getting off and tackling them. The great Michael Jones never let his opposition number 8 get past that advantage line. Now, we saw Matera go straight past the All Black pack, basically had a few guys hanging on him, to be fair to the back row from New Zealand. But again, this is bringing back attacking the game. What we've had, and unfortunately I've seen too many of evolutions of this. You've got the yin and the yang of the game. You've got defence and attack. And since the South Africans went to the 7-1 bench, the defence has overridden the attack because the scrum, kick the corner, maul, score a try. Hookers are now 3 times more likely to score tries off mauls than flankers are to score. Outside centres are to score in international rugby. That's terrible. That's disastrous. That for our game, we want to see our back scoring tries. And you just mentioned the NRL. How fabulous are the tries that we're seeing in the NRL? The athleticism of the NRL wingers is just mind-boggling, and it's great to watch. It's entertaining, and the skill level of those players is phenomenal. Now, we haven't lost those skills, but the defence and the driving mauls and the scrummaging has taken over, and what we're seeing is this change. It's starting to get back into equilibrium and get where attack is dominating defences. Tony Brown, coached against Tony when he played for Otago. He's been a fabulous coach, and what a great influence he's been on the South Africans to get them to start playing this type of rugby. And I agree with you, there were some terrible defensive lapses by New Zealand. RJ Snyman's try there at the end, allowing Khaleesi to go punch so deep into New Zealand territory before they got the ball out to Colby for the second try. That was really poor defence. There's no two ways about that. But the whole process of seeing back row play come back to the game, of remembering Zinzan Brook running right with Jonah Lomu coming in off the switch. Unfortunately, I had to coach against that, and you couldn't stop it. It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
All you could do was sit in the stand. As my assistant coach, Al Gaffney, said to me once when they scored, he said, that was a bloody good try, wasn't it? But it was a joy to watch and a joy to be part of. And that's coming back in our game. And I think, this November, we've still got the championship to finish, but look what this November brings when those teams are going up to play Ireland and France and so on. Like, this is really exciting. It's something that is giving everyone in the game some real joy. And wow, we've been lacking that, especially in Australia we've been lacking. But I think the game has been lacking that as well. Like the horrors of just seeing scrum, penalty, line out, maul. And when I go and I still do a bit of coaching in France in the academies. That the kids copy that. So I was at a game in our under-18s game in last season in the south of France, and they had a sin bin, and at the team I was coaching or helping coach was attacking, and they just went for a scrum penalty, kick to the corner, and mauled the try. And I said to the captain when he came, why didn't you just give the ball to the backs? You had an overlap. The whole point is to get overlaps. And he said, well, why do it? He's seen the senior teams do this, so he's copying it. Now if these kids see the senior teams running the ball and playing this upbeat 15-man game, that's great for us all. It's great for the kids. Here's the next part. They're picking smaller, fast, agile, athletic guys. So we're getting back where the game is there for everyone, not just the giants. And all of these things are positive steps. And leadership comes from the top. And as difficult as that has been for New Zealand and Wellington, and I get the pain, I understand it. Overall, if we look at the game, if we look at our product, what we love, that this championship has been overwhelmingly positive. And I'm really and here is me. I'm so looking forward to the next two games.
Yeah,
you know, the Boks and the Pumas. You know, and maybe for the first time in 20 years, there's actually a challenge in this Bledisloe Cup. There's actually something where people can look forward to rather than New Zealand just dominating. As much as that's good for New Zealand, it's not good for the Bledisloe Cup as a product or for Australian rugby. It was much better when Australia was super competitive and those wonderful test matches we saw. So, yeah, mate, I'm feeling great about the whole thing.
You talked about how you've got Dan Herbert in charge, you've got Phil Waugh as well with Australian rugby, and you've got two players who just understand how the game works. Is this revival, if you will, because results-wise it's not starkly better than, say, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, but the performances, you can just see a difference in spirit, and that's a lot of Joe Schmidt, obviously, and you probably know a lot about him being an Ireland, but has it changed for good? Like, is this probably the turning point? The finances are getting slightly better, as you say. It's about getting the coaches better and, I guess, growing their skill set and being able to teach the next generation properly. But, yeah, it's long-winded way of asking, has it changed for good finally?
No. It's way too early to say that. There's a revival going on. And Joe deserves a lot of credit. But no matter how bad our system is here, and it is really bad, we can still put out 25 pretty decent players. Our 9s and 10s remain a major problem, as you could see from what we've done. O'Connor coming back in, young liner who we're putting against the Lions with only one test under his belt. Tane Edmed, good kid, but is not a complete player. Made some bad mistakes, but he has done some good things. We're just not producing those players. What Joe Schmidt has done is he's gone with a group of guys 2 years ago and he's stuck with them. And there's a number in test match rugby, it varies from player to player. It's around the 20 test cap mark. It can be somewhere from 15 to 25 up to 30. At around the 20 test mark, players become comfortable playing test match rugby. The pace, the intensity, the travel, the lead up, how you look after yourself mentally, how you recover after the game for a test match the next week. All these things for players are quite difficult. You just got to learn. It's a learning environment. And after 20 or so games, you learn. If you're still there, you're learning. And you never stop learning, you never stop growing. People seem to think, that as a coach and a player, you get to a point you stop. The day you stop, you're finished. You've got to grow. I go to games with a pencil and a notebook. I got to keep learning. Once I think I know it all, I am done. Everyone's got to keep learning. Yeah. And what Joe's done is he's kept this core group of players, and a great example is Harry Wilson, the captain. Picked him as captain. I thought, wow, I didn't see that. And Harry is developed and grown into an excellent captain. Leadership is a skill that you learn. How do you learn to be a leader? Lead. Get out and lead. Make your mistakes. Learn from them. Talk about it. Get advice from other great leaders, but keep leading. And we also have the saying, one captain, 23 leaders. Everyone has to lead. Everyone has to learn how to be a leader on the field with your captain. And what Joe Schmidt's done, is stayed with that core group. He's made a couple of bad coaching decisions. Certainly, you can see he's got Tupou at tight end prop now in every test. He didn't pick him for the first couple of Lions tests, and he should have. He was out of form. He was hopeless around the field, but he held a scrum up. Yeah. And he was our best scrummager. If we had a better scrum in that first and second test, they would have won the Lions series. But he's learned and he's grown. So Joe's learning about these guys as well. So no coach is perfect. No coach is a panacea or a silver bullet, and neither is Joe. But he has done a really good job blooding this side, giving them experience, giving them self-belief, And that's not just me talking. You can see that when they come back from behind against South Africa at Ellis Park from 17-0 down, that is not a fluke. That is not, they got the bounce of the ball. That is not the case. That is a team that believes it can do something. They did the same against the Pumas there in the final minutes up in Townsville. I'm sitting at home in front of the TV. It was 25-28, I think it was. One of it 24-27. And the Wallabies got a penalty on the 79th minute. Kickable. Not an easy one, but kickable. But take the points, boys. You're going to get out of this with a draw because they were 24-7 down at halftime.
Yeah.
Wilson goes, no, we're going for the win. He turned down 3 penalties and kept going, and they scored a try and won. Now, what that does for a team's confidence and belief, but not just that, the rugby community in Australia. Because I'm saying take the points, the next 2 penalties. Take the points.
Yeah.
Take the points. Get out of this with a draw. You've done okay. No, we're going for the win. We believe in ourselves. And that, it's again, this leadership thing. When your national team is showing you that they believe in themselves, so does everyone else. And so what happens the next week? We go to Sydney and the whole joint's wearing gold. I haven't seen that place wearing gold or full for a Wallabies game, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And it was fabulous. It was a great day. Sunny Saturday afternoon, the eastern suburbs of Sydney. Everyone's in the pubs before the game. Everyone goes out, they sing the songs, and we're in the gold jerseys because they believed in what that team was trying to do. So is this the end? Are they going to win the Bledisloe Cup? I don't think so. But there is the beginnings of a movement forward.
Yeah.
Where just year after year, all you saw was Australian rugby sliding until the disaster that was the 2023 World Cup. And that was a train smash, an absolute train. On every front. Eddie Jones should not have been appointed coach. Nothing against Eddie. But Dave Rand is doing a fabulous job. Was basically doing what Joe was doing. He was building a side 18 months out from the World Cup. And against Italy, he said, right, I'm going to rest my test side. I'm going to give everyone else in the squad 18 months out from a World Cup, 12 months out from a World Cup. I'll give you a go. And they went out against Italy and they lost by a point. They missed a kick in the last minute to win the game. And they go on, the people who weren't rugby people on the board of Australian Rugby, I know this for a fact, voted Dave Rennie out. And the rugby guys on the committee going, don't do this. Do not do this. We've only got a 9 more year to the next World Cup, 9 months to the next World Cup. Do it after the World Cup. We're going all right. They lost against Italy, but they drew against France and should have beaten Ireland. Things are good. We're going okay. And the non-rugby people, this is what I'm talking about, Warry and Herbie being rugby guys, the non-rugby people made that vote. And we just spiraled for the next year because Eddie changed everything. And you can't do that. And I understand why he did it, but you can't do it and have success in 9 months' time. You've got to build. It takes years to build between the World Cups. And that's what gives me hope in Australian rugby. We've got leadership at the chairman and the CEO who know the game. We've got a really good, experienced coach who's going to hand over to Les Kiss, who's also a guy I know, or a coach with Les was coaching in Ireland when I was coaching. He's a good person, knows the game, done his apprenticeship, been around a lot of different places. Les is a very good human being, and that's what you also need. And they're going to hand that off coming out to a World Cup that's going to be at home in 2 years' time. So there's lots of pluses about what's occurring, and that will have a positive effect on New Zealand rugby because our super teams will be more competitive next year than they were this year, and our national team will be more competitive this year than it was next year.
Yeah.
Competition drives performance, and that'll drive the New Zealand performance on as well.
Yeah. Matt, I could talk for hours. I'm absolutely loving this conversation, but unfortunately we don't exactly have hours on our hands here, I think. But just one final question to give me a nice short answer. This weekend at Eden Park and actually in Perth as well, what do you see happening between the All Blacks and the Wallabies?
Oh, I think you definitely got to say there's going to be a reaction from the New Zealanders. You know, that doesn't go unanswered. I haven't got the teams out in front of me, but I expect close contests in both areas. And if I would suspect it will go the way that this whole championship has gone, 1-1. They'll win one and lose one. And I suspect it'll go with home advantage. Look, if Australia could pull off a game at Eden Park, wow.
That'd be incredible.
But I can't see that happening.
Yeah.
And because the reaction I think is going to come from Robbo and his players. But I do think it'll be a very close contest. And when you go to Perth, because there's more Kiwis in Perth than there are Australians, it'll be another home game.
We're good at that, yeah.
Oh, mate, everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. But I think that'll go with home advantage. And I think that, again, if Australia come out of that 1-1, that's a really – and the Bledisloe Cup will remain in New Zealand because New Zealand are the holders. But I think that's really good for Trans-Tasman rugby. I think that's really, really good. If it comes out like the old days and the Kiwis pump the Wallabies by, considerable margins, that's not good for anyone. And I certainly hope it doesn't occur. But I can't – and maybe that's just me, not having seen us win there for the best part of 40 years. I just can't see them doing that at the moment, as much as I'd like to see it. But I can't.
DSPN.